Alright guys, welcome back. This is Ruby tutorial number 5 part 2, the credit script. And so I've gone back and refactored this just a little bit here. So what I've done is instead of using all of that information all in one place, I created a new class called credit transition info. And if we scroll up here, we can see how I defined that. So here we've got class credit transition info, and then I made accessible all of those details, and then the initialize method is what was down here in our module info before, and then I created a set method for the back, the title, and the name info, which basically sets those details to the details that you provide. So with that being the case, now down here in our module we can now go ahead and say info equals credit transition info.new, and then just upon the case of the particular index for that, then we just say set name info or set title info or set back info with the XY target XY. Okay, so basically that's how we will get our info for the particular credit item that needs to display. So with that being the case now, we've now got our information down here, and we need at least 4 pictures to be populated into this list. So let's just go ahead here, and we are going to open up the My Pictures, and we're just going to copy a couple of the Windows ones here, and we're going to copy those into the game picture directory. And graphics and pictures. Kabam. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and put these underneath a credit folder. And we just move those on up into there. And so now we've got those different names, right? So what we do now is we come up here and we are going to get the name of this guy. And let's see, rename, and I'm going to take that name and I'm going to put that here inside of our script. Okay, so that is the first picture to be displayed, and our second one here, desert, and we'll do that one next, and then desert. And then what was our last one? It was jellyfish. I'm lazy. Give me a break. Alright. Alright, so now we've got the names of all of our different pictures that we want to display. And we've got 4 of them, so it'll display each of these in order. Now keep in mind though that these pictures greatly outsize the setup here, and so it's likely that we might have some visual problems just because these are very large pictures. Well, they're not huge, but they are pretty good size. So let's go ahead now. So that is our creation of our list. We've now got our background picture, etc. Now all we need to do is set the bitmap to it, set the bitmap to the title and the name, which we still need to have a method to identify what those should be. So as part of our method up here, and you know, we probably should have put, well, you know what, I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and put as part of our transition info, just so we save ourselves some time here, what should be the names on those items. So you will have a when case up here in all of these. So let's go ahead and put title dot text equals, and it'll just be nothing, and name text equals nothing. Okay, and then of course we need to expose those. And these ones here I'm going to set as accessors because I want to be able to write them individually without having to use a method. It's not really that big of a deal, but I just figured it's going to be easier this time. Let's see, so we got title text and name text, right? Alright, so let's come back down here now, and in our info we'll now have a when 0, and we are going to supply this with a let's see, what was it? Info dot title name equals director, and info dot name, that was text, wasn't it, equals gubid. And then we're going to go ahead and do another one here, and this one, info dot title underscore text equals Bob's Bugs. And you know, actually, let's go ahead and do this one as QA, and then info dot name text equals Bob's Bugs. Okay, and then we will leave the second item, or I'm sorry, the third item, and we're not going to actually do anything on it, but I'll just put it in here so that you can visualize it. And we're not going to actually have it return anything. And then case 3, it will then set the name information to transition differently, but we're also going to set the title text. And let's go ahead and type in developer, and then for the info.name text we'll also use gubid. Alright, so we've got the information in here now, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this information onto our screen now, and we got to display it. So one of the other things that we're going to need is a temporary picture or bitmap file to give us measurements on our strings above here to be able to draw them onto the screen. So because these aren't going to be pictures, while they could be, you just have to set their names somehow through something along these lines. But in this case we're going to draw them, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a temp bitmap, right? So we're just going to just call this temp bitmap, and we're going to set that equal to a bitmap dot new, and we're going to specify 1 1, because it doesn't matter how big it is, point is that it exists. Alright, so now we've got all of the information we want and need. Okay, so now we need to start displaying our pictures. So there's a couple of things we need to do, and one of those is we forgot the update method, and that update method is going to have a update pictures and info, right? Oh, you know what? I forgot one more thing up here in our transition info. How long it should take. And we'll go ahead and just put time equals, and the default will be 120 frames, or 120 updates. Okay, so we're going to scroll up here, and we're just going to make that accessible as well, and it was just time. Alright, so now we've got our time, we've got all of those things, so inside of here we can go ahead and say, you know, time, oops, that one's info, and this one is info dot time, and then we'll set this one to 80, just because, so you can see it goes faster. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to create a method to say, okay, well, where did you start, what is your transition rate to make it to the target location by the time you specify. And so we're getting into a bit of math here, but I mean, technically it should be pretty easy stuff anyways. But so as far as the post start, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set the info, right? So we want to set our starting index, which actually we can just do that up here. Start index, and it'll always be equal to 0. And so that is basically saying this is where we are, or we could call this current index since it's more accurate to description. Alright, so I don't think we actually need post start. So we're going to remove that, and we're going to come down here. So we've got update pictures info. Oh, you know what? We also need our timer. And our timer equals 0. You know what? Let's set it to 0. Alright, so our first update comes along here. He says update pictures info. Update pictures info says if timer is equal to 0, then replace the picture, right? So let's go ahead and use our current index, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say info equals, and then it was, let's see, where was the module? Credit script dot transition info. And then we'll pass it that index. Alright, and then we are going to set the, let's see, we've got to increase the index on this, but first we're going to actually go get our picture. So we are going to say picture dot bitmap equals, and now let's go find out how to read a bitmap out of the pictures here. In RPG Maker XP, it would be cache dot picture and then the file name, and it looks like it's gonna, or I'm sorry, RPG : cache dot picture. In VX, it was just cache dot picture, and it looks like in Rmvxace it is also just cache dot picture. All right, so we'll come back down here, and we're going to say cache dot picture, and then we are going to pass it from the picture list the current index file name. Okay, so what this is doing is this saying go get the picture list text for the current index. Okay, and now we need to go ahead and set all of the information for the picture. Okay, so picture.x equals, and then this is going to be the info dot, and what was it, start, no, back sx. Alright, and then we've got picture.y equals info dot back underscore sy. See how exciting this is? Alright, so now we need to figure out where the target xy is, right? So let's go ahead and create a target x, and that is going to be equal to info dot back tx. Let's not capitalize that so it knows what we're talking about here. And then we're going to do ty equals info dot back ty, and let's see, let's actually call that picture tx, or you know what, actually let's do back.tx because it's easier to write. Alright, so now there's all of our back information set, so let's now go ahead and grab our title. Alright, so here's our title. Let's go ahead and set its information here real quick. Info.title sx, and this one's going to be sy, y, and then we've got title tx equals info dot title dot underscore tx, and then this is going to be ty. See, this is the exciting part, just going through all the tedious garbage. Alright, and then next we've got our name picture, and then this one is .x equals info.name sx, name.y equals info.name sy, and name tx equals info.name tx, and name tx ty equals info.name ty. Alright, so now we've transitioned all of the information out of our info class. Now, technically speaking, we probably could actually just store the info so that we didn't have to store quite as much. We didn't have to create these additional variables here. Now that I think about it, it's probably the easier thing to do. And let's just do that actually. So we'll get rid of those lines there. And so now we've got our information. So all we're doing is we're just setting the starting positions, right? And now what we need to do is we need to set our picture bitmaps for our title and our name. So what we need to do is we need to ask our temp bitmap up here, how big is, so text size, and then we're going to pass it our title text, right? So it's info.titleText, and we're going to actually make this info a instance variable so it doesn't disappear after this is done. We could continuously read it, but that just means a whole bunch of extra, getting and setting that you don't really need to do. Alright, so that should give us our size information, and that will return a rectangle. Okay, so what we do then is we now go ahead and say title.bitmap equals bitmap.new, and we are going to pass it the rect width and the rect height. Alright, and then inside of this, title.bitmap.draw text, and then we're just going to specify let's see, rect.width and rect.height, comma, and then now we supply it the actual text that we need to display, which was right here. And then if you wanted to, you could specify a right justify or not, but in this case we're fitting the bitmap exactly, so it shouldn't matter even if you did specify a different draw method. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this, and we're just going to move it down here, and we're going to repeat the same thing, but we're going to change this to name, and this also to name, and this to, oh, that's right, that shouldn't be in quotes. That stupid magnifier is right in my way. Alright, and then of course this is going to be name text. I mean, technically you could go ahead, because this is the exact same information, all you need to do is really just separate this into, you could separate this into its own method if you wanted to. I'm going to just leave it in this one now for simple sakes, just so you can see what's going on. But, a common and a very good practice is to take this information and store it off elsewhere in another method, so that you can reuse it again as you want. And in this case, what we'd probably do is just pass in the sprite and let it, and then the text that needs to be displayed, and then it figures it out. So we could do that. I'm not going to bother doing it right now. Let me just check how we are on time here. Alright, it looks like we are running late enough, so I'm going to actually stop this one. We'll come back in just a moment, and we'll continue from there.